Vidhammer Fantasy.
Welcome back to Vidhammer. I'm Spudlow, bringing you another battle report. This time 3,000 points of my Skaven up against an army I don't see very often, Daemons of Chaos, even though they are quite popular. In this list that's coming up, it's pretty easy to see why. Grady is also an experienced player, and there's a cat running across the room. I'll give you a quick rundown of my army list. I've got myself a Grey Seer with the Power Scroll and the 5+ ward save on him. Then I've got my Warlord on the Bonebreaker with the Talisman of Preservation, so he's got a 4+. He's got World's Edge armor, so he's got a 2+ armor save. And he's got the Sword of Anti-Heroes, so +1 attack, +1 strength for every character in close combat. Then I've got a Plague Priest on the Plague Furnace, which I'm still trying to get finished painting, but when I do, I'll actually put some pictures of that one up. Not yet, though. It's too early. He's level 2. He's got the Dispel Scroll. He's just chilling with a pack of Plague Monks. My only other caster is my level 1 Warlock Engineer, my standard mobile artillery guy with the Warp Energy Condenser and a Doom Rocket. BSB, Skaven Brew. Have the Storm Vermin drink it. Give him a buff. I got Assassin, Weeping Blades, and Potion of Strength. One turn, he's pretty bitchin', but after that, he's pretty dead. Storm Vermin block, 40 of them. Banner of Eternal Flame, Warp Fire Thrower. Okay, there's the flaming part of the list taken care of. 1 block, 30 Clan Rats, full command. They're just meant to be a bunker if that's necessary. I'm going with 2 slave blocks this time. 2 blocks of 50 slaves to see if that's actually going to be as unwieldy as I think it's going to be. And yeah, just generally gum things up. And I got 2 blocks of Giant Rats, little redirector dudes, 2 Warp Lightning Cannons, a Hellpit Abomination. This one does have the Warpstone spikes. The Doom Wheel, 27 Plague Monks with the Banner of Swiftness. I'm still trying to give them the +1 movement to see if that helps actually get some action for the Plague Furnace, because, you know, it's like a dude that's been in the pin, needs to get some action. And the Gutter Runners, 6 Gutter Runners, slings, poison attacks to try to do something. So, you know, I didn't specialize against the Daemons of Chaos, even though I knew I was going up against the Daemons of Chaos, because Grady wants to actually get some practice for some tournament play. So I know he's building a list that is not specialized towards mine, even though it does pack a significant punch. But I got him to go over what's on it, and here's what it is.
3 units of pink hordes. I've got Lord of Change. I don't know those gifts yet. I'm gonna roll them.
Pretty stuff.
I've got a Nurgle Herald BSB on a Palanquin. I've got a unit of Plague Bears. There's like 21 strong, and they've got the movement banner. I've got 5 plague drones with the big flies. They've got the flaming banner. I've got a unit of 8 Beasts of Nurgle.
Everything has the flaming banner. I'm not gonna put my Hellpit on the board. I'm just gonna leave it in the box.
I'm not even gonna try and throw the drones at them. I'm just gonna use the cannon, flaming cannons. So I got 2 corn cannons.
Both flaming, or just one of them flaming?
Both of them have the flaming cannon.
Oh, nice.
They just come with it.
Oh, they're flaming naturally?
Yeah, they're naturally magical and flaming. They're a steal. They're 150 points for a chariot that has a flaming cannon on it that can heal itself with impact hits. Then 2 bloodletters up top that do.
Yeah.
And they're tough bottom.
I'm not a huge fan of bloodletters. Killing blow, yeah. Oh, you're infantry? Oh, I'm sorry, you're dead.
Okay, unit 8 Beasts of Nurgle, 2 single units of Beasts of Nurgle, and 2 units of Furies. Those little flies, and that's it.
All right. So that's what we're bringing, and here's how it turns out. Our terrain pieces consist of a normal hill in the lower left, 2 mysterious forests, a wizard's tower in the upper right, and the infamous skull that we've just played as impassable terrain this time around. I win the roll for board edge and go for the right side so I can control that tower. For spell generation, Grady's 3 pink horror units each get a single spell and end up with Infernal Gateway, Bolt of Change, and Glean Magic. The last one gave me a bit of trouble the last time it was across the table, so I'm not glad to see that one again. Then the Happy Chicken gets Searing Doom, Enchanted Blades, Glittering Robe, and everyone's favorite, Final Transmutation. On my side, the Warlock Engineer takes the signature Warp Lightning, the Plague Priest gets Wither and Cloud of Corruption, and the Grey Seer ends up with Pestilent Breath, Skitter Leap, Death Frenzy, and the dreaded 13th. Additional elements have the Happy Chicken taking 2 gifts, Internal Blade and Wand of Whimsy, while his BSB gets Fencer's Blades. As we start our deployment, I know I want to keep my Grey Seer away from his magic-gleaning pink horrors, but other than that, there are several elements in his list that I haven't faced before, so I just took a guess at the matchups and try to keep a cohesive line, basically. He puts 1 unit of Furies and a cannon up at the top, so with the Beasts of Nurgle up there as well, I decided to put the Doom Wheel up, hoping it can deal with some of that. I leave a space in the center of my line for the Hell Pit. I've been trying to keep 1 unit of giant rats close to the Hell Pit as a redirector in case it gets a bad random move. I put 1 slave block to my center and the other at the bottom, hoping to jam something up, but with all his flyers it's not going to be easy. The Plague Furnace I keep towards the lower end of my line. I know it can be away from the general and still be okay, but the lower slaves have a serious problem, so I put my Warlock Engineer in with them, which isn't too bad since there's plenty to shoot at with his lightning down there. The BSB goes with the Storm Vermin and has them drink the Skaven Brew, and it backfires and kills a couple. I put the Grey Seer in the bunker, which I know has a big target painted on its head, but I do have a Skitter Leap, so hopefully I can keep him alive for a while. He puts his Plague Drones down at the bottom, which is probably the best place, since it's the least threatening right now, and it helps keep my Gutter Runners from having a rear deployment as well. I put them into the Charge or Ignore role, but this is one of those times that I probably should have kept them in reserve instead. My main thought is that I just don't have a clue what I should be focusing on at this point. Both of the forests are actually deployed in, and we end up with a fungus forest on my side and a venom thicket on his. My other start of game element, rather than the Skaven Brew, is my Grey Seer ending up getting 2 Warpstone tokens. Grady wins the first turn roll and starts out charging 1 unit of Furies into my Gutter Runners. I'm not thinking this is too bad of a matchup, so I go ahead and stand and shoot and manage to kill one. But then he needs to get a 5 on his Swift Stride roll, and ends up with a 3 and 2 1s, so that one fails. His other units move up, but not quite as much as I expected. I imagine he wanted me to pull out of position before he pounced. First magic phase ends up 4 versus 2, and not only is it nice that he doesn't have that many dice, but the chicken also has to roll for damage from Punishment of the Gods. This is an element from the most recent rulebook that I'm not very familiar with, but basically depending on how well or how poorly you roll for Winds of Magic, you can get some nice benefits or suffer some penalties. In this case, he had to take some damage, but it didn't cause any wounds. However, he does throw all 4 dice for Searing Doom at my Doom Wheel, and he gets Irresistible Force. Doom Wheel takes 2 hits, but it saves them both. Then, the chicken rolls an 11 for the Backlash, and ends up losing 3 levels, and all but his Glittering Robes spell. So I've got to call that a great magic phase for me. I just got to capitalize now. But before that, he lays into me with the cannons, the first one overshooting the Plague Furnace, which is nice, but it does carry into the Warp Lightning Cannon and kills it, which isn't so nice. But at least the Clan Rats with my General Grey Seer managed to pass their panic test. The second cannon slaps my Hell Pit with some not-so-sweet lovin', causing him only a single wound, but since it's a flaming attack, he no longer gets the option to stand back up. Now it's over to me, and I say, go big or go home. I have my Giant Rats charge his upper Beast of Nurgle. I know it's a folly charge, but I just wanted them out of the way before my Hell Pit had to do its move. I also have the Gutter Runners charge his Central Furies, which I thought was a good matchup, and I didn't bother to restrain the Plague Monks since they've got +1 movement. All 3 of them make their charges, and I'm not feeling too bad about things on the whole. The Hell Pit and the Doom Wheel managed to get some decent distances as well, and I have my Grey Seer bunker do a little jog towards the bottom, away from the Gleam Magic Pinkies, but still managing to be within 24 inches of the lower ones. And that's good, because my magic phase actually ends up to be my 3 dice versus his 4, since he made some nice channels. I say heck with it and have my Grey Seer eat both his Warpstone tokens and use his Power Scroll to go for Dreaded 13th on his Lord Pink Horrors. It goes off, and with no Dispel Scroll capability, he can only throw dice at it, but it doesn't stop it, and I get a quick unit of reinforcements to the party. Which is needed now, since I roll a misfire for my Doom Wheel in shooting, and it decides to leave the board for a while. My surviving cannon, on the other hand, shoots for his upper cannon and manages to hit, and rolls a 10 for the strength, scores a wound, and it would multiply to 5 wounds if it wasn't for that ward save that he just made. Now we do combat, and the furnace smacks into the lower beast for a single impact hit, which it saves. Then it does its fog effect for 1 wound, and that gets saved. Then the beast ends up in a challenge with the Plague Priest, who scores 1 wound, and that gets saved. And the priest even takes 1 in return before the stinking beast crumbles in combat resolution. Then there's my awesome overrun of 2 inches. 2 inches is never awesome. Then the giant rats do nothing and quickly only take 1 back, so they push. But the gutter runners follow suit in doing squat all to the Furies, but actually lose a couple and end up running. He tries to have the Furies restrained, but they won't have any of it. Luckily, the gutter runners had already tore ass out of there and are halfway home eating a sandwich by now. We go into the second turn, and he has his Plague Bears charge the gutter runners, just to move them a little closer to the board edge before he redirects into the slaves. He tries to have the Beast of Nurgle charge past the Hell Pit into the Storm Vermin, but the angle isn't quite right, so he just settles for a reform. The Plague Drones, however, move right up to the slaves' flank, not being interested in the slaves so much as what's behind them. Magic this time is 8 versus 6, and he uses his first 6 for everyone's favorite Final Transmutation on my Storm Vermin. I just go ahead and use all my dice against this and dispel it. He uses the remaining 2 for Bolt of Change on the Hell Pit for 2 more wounds, and the after effects regain 2 of his Pink Horrors, and forces a toughness test on my Hell Pit, but luckily he passes and actually gains +1 to his regen save. Too bad it's no good against the cannon. Speaking of cannons, the first one goes after the Hell Pit, hits and takes him down to just 1 wound. Second manages to misfire though, so Sweet Lovin' staves up a little bit longer. In combat, the single beast kills off the rats and overruns into the Hell Pit, while the slaves take a slew of losses to the Plague Bears, but stay steadfast and pass the break test. For my side, I charge the Plague Monks into the Furies, Gutter Runners manage to rally, the Doom Wheel comes back on the board, and I move the Clan Rats around the skull, with the Engineer moving out of the slaves and into that block, just in time for the magic phase. That ends up 8 versus 8, thanks to his channels again. But that's okay, because I just decided to roll Irresistible Force on my first attempt at Warp Lightning on his cannon. I managed to put a single wound on it before rolling a 3 for the backlash, and losing 13 Clan Rats before the Engineer gets sucked into the void. At least I moved him into that unit for safekeeping. I used the remaining dice for an attempt at the Dreaded 13th again, but it fails. Then in shooting, Doom Wheel takes a single Pink Horror from the unit that's just off the upper edge of the screen. The Warp Fire Thrower scores a great hit on the Beasts of Nurgle, but only causes 4 wounds in the end. The rallied Gutter Runners fire into the Nurglings for a single wound, and finally the cannon shoots for the chicken hiding behind the building, and gets a great shot at Strength 10, which ends up being enough to put 4 wounds on the chicken, and 3 on the Doom Wheel as well. Always being efficient, those little cannons. The only combat this round is the Plague Furnace against the Furies, which Grady just saves the trouble and picks it up. Turn 3 starts off, Grady charging the Plague Drones over the slaves into the weakened Clan Rats, while the Furies charge my remaining cannon, and the Beasts of Nurgle go after the Stormburn. He even has his Nurglings make a run at the Gutter Runners, as his cannons pull back and the off-screen Pink Horrors garrison the Wizard's Tower. Magic is 7 versus 5, and he uses his first 2 for Plague of Rust on the Storm Vermin, and I let this one go so I can dispel his other attempts, including Enchanted Blades and finally Treason of Tzeentch on the Storm Vermin. Shooting sees to the first cannon, killing off my doom wheel, while the second misfires again and takes another wound. Our lengthy combat phase starts off with the plague drones trouncing the clan rats for 7 wounds, but I just managed to keep a full second rank and stay steadfast for this round. The beasts of Nurgle against the storm vermin decide to target attacks against my BSB, hoping to kill it off, and they manage to score 2 wounds, but the lucky sod actually saves both on a 6+ parry. Then they manage to put 5 on the Warlord, who shrugs off 3 with the armor and ward saves, but it still takes him to half health. I don't manage many wounds through the ward saves though, but thanks to the ranks and banners I'm able to win combat and do 6 more in instability. Then we have the single beast and the Hell Pit slug it out. Sweet Lovin' just doesn't do enough and he ends up taking 2 himself. Even with the 3+ regen save, he's only able to make 1 of the 2 saves. The Nurglings beat up on the Gutter Runners, who show some insane courage and stay in the fight. The Warp Lightning Cannon comes away without a scratch and actually manages to kill off one of the Furies. It still loses combat, but sticks around for another go. The Hell Pit being out is a blow, but not as much as the Storm Vermin's fight with the beasts. Even if I win that combat, it just won't happen fast enough. Movement is becoming rather simple as I just turn the Plague Monks and the Slaves around to face what's going on. Magic is 8 versus 5, and I intend to get my Grey Seer out of his predicament, but I've got to get rid of his dice first, so I use 3 dice for Wither on the Plaguebringers, and he uses his 5 to dispel it. Now, with no dice to contest the action, I have my Grey Seer skitterleap his business out of the Plague Drone's business and follow up with some Death Frenzy on the Slaves that are tied up with the Plaguebringers, hoping to take away one of their ranks so maybe the Slaves can be steadfast another round. Shooting was almost non-existent as I'd forgotten about the Warp Fire Thrower tucked behind the Storm Vermin, but I have it make a shot at the building which carries over and actually manages to kill off the chicken attempting to hide behind it. Good shot, little guy. That's my highlight for this game. For combat, the Plague Drones manage to put a beating on the Clan Rats and restrain from pursuit, leaving the lone Standard Bearer fleeing. They reform and do something I wasn't expecting. They turn around to face the Slaves that hold the Grey Seer. This was just a facepalm for me. I didn't have to turn the Slaves to face the drones, but I suppose I did want to be able to cast some spells. I'm sure there was a better way about it though. The Plaguebringers take the Slaves down enough so they're no longer steadfast. The only time that I need insane courage, it's nowhere to be found, and that lone Standard Bearer gets caught up in the resultant explosion. In the big beast combat, I already had the assassin drink his strength potion at the start of this turn, so he pops out and manages a single wound before getting cut down, along with 2 storm vermin, and the Warlord takes 1 more as well. I do still win the combat, but only by 3 this time, leaving that unit with still much more than I can hack through. The Nurglings manage to kill off 2 more Gutter Runners, but the last one still refuses to listen to Obi-Wan, as the Warp Lightning Cannon fails to repeat its performance and ends up kindling. On our 4th turn, the Plague Drones make the obvious charge into the Slaves, while the upper Pink Horrors charge the giant rats that flee, so he redirects into the Clan Rats, but ends up failing the distance. Magic ends up 10 versus 7, and he ends up getting Khorne's Wrath, which hits the nearby Clan Rats for 4 wounds, forcing a panic check, and they fail and run away. Then he gets the magic started with 2 dice for blue fire on the Warp Fire Thrower. I let it go, and he only gets strength 1, so it doesn't wound. But it also forces a toughness test, which I fail, and it takes 2 wounds from that, but saves them both. His next 2 go for Glean Magic on my Plague Priest, and I'm not having him steal Wither, so I roll 4 dice against it and get an irresistible Dispel. His remaining 6 go for Final Transmutation on the Storm Vermin, and I just burn my scroll on it. Cannon time, and the first one misfires this time and takes a wound, while the second one overshoots on the Furnace. For combat, even though the Warlord manages to shake off 2 wounds and keep ticking, I end up losing 8 Storm Vermin and can't do enough to balance out. I do lose the combat, but pass the break test as I'm steadfast. Otherwise, the final gutter runner dies. Then the plague drones put 4 wounds on the Grey Seer, who only has a 5+ ward save and can't make 1. He dies, and even though the slaves are steadfast, it's only on a 5 and they fail and explode. I make a final attempt with my Plague Furnace into the Plague Drones, while the Clan Rats continue to flee off the board, and the Giant Rats just flee around the board. Magic is 8 versus 6, and I use 6 to go for Wither, but I roll pretty low, and he dispels it. The last 2 don't have much purpose, and I just discard them. In shooting, the Warp Fire Thrower can't even hit the broadside of a Wizard's Tower, and it overshoots. And finally, in combat, the Priest and the Monks do a few wounds, but what's important, the Plague Furnace gets its last wound taken out before it gets a chance to swing. Without the Furnace, there's no chance of me winning this combat, so we call the game with another crushing defeat for the Skaven as I go get set up to play some War Machine. Hope you liked this battle report. Be sure and check back for new videos each week. Do us a favor and subscribe, like the video if you want to see more, and feel free to leave a comment if you have any tactics or matchups you'd like to see. You can also follow the action on Facebook and Twitter. Till next time, this is Budlow saying, keep fighting. Then there's a BSB. Takes the Skaven Brew, because I'm going with the Storm Vermin block. Come on over here. Come here. Come on up. You want to be on the camera? Come on. Come say hi. He's just off screen. Oh, you got a little bit of tail. There you go. Well, 2 warp light. I don't know why it's funny. I didn't do that. People aren't going to notice that at all.